The Bird's Nest. Written by Jessica Malordi. Illustrated by Gabor Utamo. Focus question. What is the importance of bird nests in this story? It's Saturday, and Rima is sprawled on her stomach on the floor, watching cartoons. Behind her, she can hear her mother rummaging through the kitchen cupboards. "I'm bored," Rima complains. "This show is boring." "So change the channel. TV will help you learn English faster." As soon as the words are out of her mother's mouth, the clanging in the kitchen stops. Rima braces herself for the words she knows will follow. "Because this is our home now," Rima's mother murmurs. "You know that, don't you, Habibti?" Rima sighs. "I know, Mama. I know." This time last year, when Rima was 8, home was a tent surrounded by other tents. The year before that, home was the side of the road, a storm-tossed boat, or a stranger's basement, wherever they happened to lay their heads at night. The year before that, though, when Rima was 6, home was a house in a city called Aleppo, in the country of Syria. Home had a big window in the kitchen where black and white-tailed birds came to roost, and a carpet in the living room that smelled of honey and flour, and a bedroom with a perfect view of the moon. Now, home is here, a tiny apartment in America, with a mother who speaks in a hushed voice whenever she mentions Syria. Rima wishes she wouldn't tiptoe around the harsh reality as though Rima cannot understand. Her mom always protected her, though. It had been just the two of them for as long as Rima could remember. Her dad had passed away when Rima was just a baby. The truth was that war came to Aleppo long before they left, and it has only gotten worse. They are never going back. There is nowhere to go back to. Rima's journey to America. Rima and her mother left Syria because of civil war. Since 2011, millions of Syrian families have left and become refugees all over the world. A refugee is a person who is forced to leave their country to seek safety in another country. The term comes from the word refuge, which means a safe place. Refugees flee their country to escape conflict, violence, and natural disasters. They also face persecution based on aspects of their identity, such as ethnicity, religion, or political beliefs. Refugees usually leave behind family, friends, homes, and communities. "Rima, come here," says her mother. Rima peels herself off the floor. The kitchen counter is covered with baking sheets, a sack of sugar, and pistachios. "What's all this for?" Rima asks. After a week at school learning English grammar and vocabulary, it feels good to speak Arabic. "For baking, silly." Her mother reaches over and ruffles Rima's hair. "What else?" "We're going to bake today?" Rima asks. "How come?" She swallows the words that want to come next. "We haven't baked together in forever." "Yesterday, while you were at school, some ladies from the refugee center called," Rima's mother explains. "Tomorrow there will be a bake sale at the community center." "Bake sale?" Rima asks. "What's that?" "It's an American tradition, I'm told. Those of us who are new here will bake our favorite sweets from Syria, and Americans from the community will come to buy them and sample sweets from our homeland for the first time. It's a way to make us a little money," she adds. Rima's mother opens the refrigerator and extracts a box of phyllo dough noodles. "So, what do you say?" "Let's try it," Rima replies, and her mother squeezes her shoulder. Rima grabs a handful of pistachios and begins to crush them into smaller pieces. They are making bird's nest baklawa. Now Rima is delighted. She dives in, helping her mother prepare the nests, then arranging each one on the baking sheet. Rima begins to hum an old song from home that she loves. The next day, the courtyard of the community center is crowded and noisy. Syrian families unpack their baked goods on folding tables. Everywhere Rima turns, she sees the sweets of her childhood, besbuse with nuts on top. sticky kunefe topped with pistachio dust, and more ashel bulbul, known as bird's nest baklawa, topped with sugar water and chopped pistachios, like little eggs in a doughy nest. Ours look tastiest, Rima thinks. A long line of families wait for them, and Rima feels her stomach flip-flop. What if the Americans don't like Syrian baking? Their customers ooh and ah, though, pointing at the trays enthusiastically. What are these called? They ask in English before trying clumsily to repeat the food names in Arabic. Rima thinks it's fun to teach someone else a new language for a change. Delicious, they say, one by one, after biting into the baklawa, and Rima blushes with pride. Rima and her mother return the next week and the next. Their bird's nest baklawa are the bake sale's star treat. What's your secret ingredient? Another family asks. But there is none, just the joy Rima and her mother share in the kitchen after 3 years living as refugees, never settled or safe enough to bake together. One week, a boy named Andy from Rima's school attends the bake sale with his family. These are bird's nest baklawa. In Syria, we call them ashal bulbul, Rima informs him when they stop by her table. At my house in Aleppo, birds build nests just like this outside our kitchen window. Can we buy some, Dad? Andy asks. His father reaches for his wallet. Yislamo, says Rima automatically when Andy hands her the dollar bills. Sorry, she adds, blushing. Yislamo is how we say thank you in Syria. Yislamo then, says Andy, lifting a nest with a grin before taking a big bite. Thus begins a tradition. Though they don't socialize at school, he plays during recess with the other boys, and Rima spends half the day in the English language learners classroom. Every weekend, Andy and his family return to the bake sale. Each time his family buys baklawa, Andy asks Rima how to say a new word or phrase in Arabic. Hello, goodbye, you're welcome, and how much does this cost? Rima pronounces the words clearly and slowly in the Syrian dialect. Andy's accent is awful, but she knows not to poke fun. Rima doesn't like it when the kids at school tease her about her English. One day, Rima tells Andy all about how they make the ashal bulbul, preparing the syrup, chopping the pistachios into fine pieces, and how, when she was little, she would pick pistachios straight from her grandparents' tree. I didn't know pistachios grow on trees, Andy exclaims. Of course they do, Rima laughs. My favorite birds would nest there too. You must miss it there, Andy says, and suddenly Rima's eyes fill with tears. Ashamed, she ducks her head and thinks, please don't let him notice. If he does notice, though, he doesn't let on. Instead, he just smiles. A kind smile, Rima thinks, and waves goodbye. Afterward, as they pack up, Rima's mother says, Habibti, who is that boy who always talks to you? A friend? No, Rima mumbles. Just a boy from school. That week during recess, Rima is reading on a bench when somebody taps her on the shoulder. She turns, shielding her eyes from the sun. It's Andy. I want to show you something, he says. Okay, Rima says tentatively. It takes a moment for her brain to shift from reading in Arabic to speaking English. He points to the woods behind the school, and the two walk toward them together. Look, Andy says and points again. Rima gasps. No way! An American phrase that Andy has taught her in exchange for teaching him. Nestled in some blackberry brambles is a bird's nest. Yes way, he laughs. The two of them peer more closely. Inside the nest sit 4 perfectly speckled eggs. Wow, Rima breathes. Ashel bulbul. Andy nods. They really do look just like your baklawa, he whispers. I wonder if they will all live close to home once they hatch, Rima says, or fly far away to somewhere new. Birds of a feather flock together. Andy says. Rima has never heard the saying before. What does that mean? She asks. It means. It means when you're friends with someone, you spend time together. Andy shoves his hands in his pockets. Rima, he says, I know you're sad to have left your first home behind, but I want you to know that here in your new home, you are. He pauses shyly. You are my Sadiq, he says at last. Did I say that right? Sadiq? Rima grins. Of course, she tells him. And though his Arabic sounds as awkward as ever, she means the words with all her heart. Of course you did. There's no wrong way to say friend. Connections. Writing. Write a recipe for a favorite food dish in your family. Social studies. Make a map of Syria. Include major cities, landmarks, rivers, and the countries that border it.